What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Take It Apart channel. And folks, I have a very unique specimen here before me. This is the Magnasonic LED mini projector. You can tell by the size of my hands, it is absolutely tiny, runs off of 5 volts, pulls about 2 amps. And I believe this guy also has like an integrated Android system, so it's kind of like a standalone computer as well. Interesting. I could be wrong on that, but I believe that's what it is. Let's see. I should be able to turn it on. All right. So it's going to do some warm up, and you can see it will project actually quite large. My camera's probably not going to pick up just how large it really is. And there's also a little focus wheel right on it, so I can put it into a good focus. Don't know if it has a keystone. I would imagine not, because of the processing that it would take to do that. So it's got a pretty high power little LED inside it instead of a traditional projector bulb, and that is going to be its limitation factor, obviously, that and the lens. So it does throw out a pretty nice image, especially in a dark room. It's portable. Obviously, it's battery powered. Some pretty cool features there, and it does have audio, which is interesting. Has micro USB, HDMI, and 3.5 millimeter audio jack. It's got a little infrared sensor there too. Huh, interesting. Here's that focus wheel that I was mentioning. And that one just moves this lens in forward and back, just millimeters at best. Pretty cool. So today we're going to take it apart and see what ticks on the inside. I honestly think that nothing better shows the evolution of technology than video, because video, it used to be an analog technology. Now we are moved well into the digital realm, and the next step is to make it smaller, because digital video, sure, you can do that. They could probably do that back in the 60s, but the thing is, they couldn't do it smaller and at a high enough resolution. And I do believe that this guy is full 1080p, which is, I mean, maybe negligible when you're talking that it's that small of a lens, and it's got a projection distance of probably about 8 to 10 feet. But, you know, 1080p is 1080p, right? Okay, so you can tell in the corner, it's got all these tiny little rubber covers, and that's what I'm pulling out right here. Just got to kind of get a screwdriver in there, rock it, and it just pulls them out. And these here should be PH double aught Phillips 00. Hopefully this guy comes apart quite easily. There we go. Now this is truly a unique piece of hardware, because normally I wouldn't like to pull something this small apart, especially if it's still functioning, because getting it back together is often a pain in the butt. There we go. That's why I've got my helper screwdriver here. What I do is when I can crack it open, I get the big one in there and just feed it around, because sometimes these screws are still in their sockets. There we go. Just being gentle around the perimeter. Now there is a lithium polymer battery inside here, so we got to be kind of careful that we don't pierce that, because if we do, you're going to set off a chain reaction and burn my shop down. Yay. You can see that's how tiny the fasteners are there. Little guys, little guys. All right, so I'm being very careful on this. All right, I can see the screw mechanism that moves the lens forward and backwards. We have, I would assume that this is for cooling this shroud and or RF noise. Could it be that they're concerned about RF noise with this? Because look at the foil. Now, often when they use this type of foil, not only does it continue the ground plane, but it also is used for cooling ducts, you know, to create a cooling duct for air and to join components like heat sinks. So I don't know. I can kind of trace out some of the features underneath. I gotta, unfortunately, This would be a very long video if I went through and heated up all this foil. And it's probably so old that it's going to be a little bit delicate, because this guy is not that current. This guy is probably from like 2019. So it's been out for a few years. There we go. Nice and gentle. Okay, so what I can tell is that this is definitely to continue the ground plane amongst all these covers. And we got 2 ribbon cables here. Not too difficult to pull apart. Here's my battery leads. And I can see my lithium polymer is down underneath there, so I got to be a little careful about that. Here we go. Whoa, okay. So that shield came right off, and I was right. It is more of a heat sink, because right here is a thermal pad, which is coming down, interfacing right down here. So they're just stretching out as much as possible, as much passive cooling that they can possibly muster up in one little space. So I got more of the pH double aught. That's for the main circuit board. Ooh, the projector head is tiny on this guy, folks. I would have thought that a larger percentage of this body would be the projector, but it's literally this little card right here. Your light emitting diode is in here, and there is a little access panel to it. Kind of cool. And then you got your focusing lens, which is adjusted by this guy right here. There's a little armature. You see the little plastic armature right there that's on the threaded screw. It just moves it forward and back. Very cool. I do believe that this projector was several $100s when it came out, and I don't know what the prices on them are today. I mean, in this form factor, it's not like you're going to have 4K. I highly doubt it, because you're limited by the LED. And the bigger the LED, the more current draw you're going to have from the internal battery, and you're going to have to deal with heat, number one. And I just don't know how they would deal with heat in this small of a form factor. This is tiny, guys. Let's go ahead, let's pull up. All right, so I have just shy of 4 inches, so about 3 1/4 by about 3. 3 1/4 by 3. That's pretty tiny. And cross section, we're looking at about almost a 1/2 inch. So about a 1/2 inch cross section. Cool. Okay, let's see. I think I have all the major fasteners out. So what I do is I do these little pry checks to see if there's any components that are still fastened down. And I might as well undo these ribbons right now while I can. Just gotta be really careful on these. Okay, there we have it. There's one. So one of them is going to be the data, and one of them is going to be the power. And also, you can kind of tell the power because they got larger traces. Let's go ahead and get that data. Oh, that is such a tiny connector, folks. That is one tiny connector. There we go. And you can see the difference in the traces, which my microscope probably not going to pull out. Power traces are much larger than data. Look at all those tiny, tiny little lines in that ribbon connector. Microscopic. Holy cow. Let's pull the LED out. Let's take a look. Oh, this is so small. I'm having a hard time even grabbing the screws. Okay, so that should be ready to come out. Come on. Right, I see a little bit more heat sinking, it looks like. Yep. Okay. So the number one problem with LEDs is going to be the cooling. So we do have some active cooling here. So we're going to have a fan probably down in here. I'd assume that's the induction. Blows across the fins and helps cool this guy down. This is actually kind of heavy. So we got a lot of copper up in there. Little tiny thermal pad joining them together. And let's see. Interestingly enough, I had this white paste on there and it feels like Celastic. Kind of a rubberized compound. It was probably just to hold this steady so it's not bouncing around. Right here, you can see the, what, millimeter worth of movement. Let's see if I can get you guys a good view. Right there's the little lens. Moves forward and back. Like 2 or 3 millimeters at best. Tiny. Yeah, kind of like the same lens that's going to be found on CD writers. All right, so this guy might be stuck in there because the battery is down over here. I'd really like to see the tiny little fan that's cooling this guy. And I do think that these HDMI ports are going to be keeping it from moving around too much, so I'm probably gonna have to pry it that way. Because normally when you have ports like through panels like this, they fit down and in. So that means I'm probably gonna be lifting from this side. And that battery's probably stuck in with tape, knowing my luck. So gotta be careful not to short those traces. And we pop it out, there we go. All right, so we do have one tiny little speaker up here in the corner. And I have my tiny little traces to a 3.7 volt, 7.77 watt hour lithium polymer battery in there. It's in excellent condition. You know what? No way. This guy works on convection. So I was expecting there to be some tiny little fan in there, but again, that would add noise and it would draw from the already tiny battery. So what they do is they have a little bit of convection here. That's why they have the hole here. So as it heats up, the air is probably going to escape through here, through those fins, right here. So the air is going to go through the fins and out. I was expected some sort of powered cooling. It's passively cooled, guys. That's wild. Talk about tiny amounts of power. And interestingly enough, R that I thought was infrared is actually a reset button. There's a tiny little button right there. Okay. And that means that underneath this right here is going to be your computer. So like I said, I do believe this guy has like an Android type of OS, but you're also going to have your image processor there. So you've got HDMI, so you're going to have a digital, maybe digital analog converter, because HDMI can also handle analog channels. And then it will put it through the image processor and right out through the data pins to your CCD, which is going to be right here. So you're going to have an LED and a CCD. And I cannot, oh man, maybe I can. Let's see if I can get in to see that LED. I have one tiny little access panel there. You see that? Oh, that's so tiny. So these are either double aught or triple aught Phillips screws. They're so tiny. And then this little tiny panel comes out. Oh, there's the other screw. Try not to lose anything, folks. All right. And here is the tiny little heat sink. Had a little bit of thermal compound right there, but you can tell it's dry. It's flaking out. See that? So for the longevity, that guy would not be good to stay there anyway because it's not going to transfer heat too well. Same with this. This thermal pad here is maybe a little bit dry. Wow. Okay. What? Okay. All right. So I have 2 LEDs on this guy. Okay, there's that one. Wow. And they are at 90 degrees from one another. This is wild. Never would have expected this, folks. Never, never, never. There we go. So here's the second LED. And that is absolutely fantastic. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, this one here has a blue tint. And this one here, I don't know what color that would be. Some of you guys would probably know a little bit better. But how neat that they have a little passive cooler on the backside of each of those LEDs. That right there is one of the major things that creates a lot of heat in pretty much every projector that exists is your LED. And it's got 2 of them. 90 degrees from one another, which means that there is some sort of combiner mirror or lens right here under this. I don't know if it will allow me to get in. I really don't want to break it, but curiosity killed the cat, you know? Oh, it's like a tape. Gosh darn it. I don't know if I can get into that. It's kind of interesting, the shape right here. And that is also like a tape. And it's stuck down really good because otherwise I'd just kind of get underneath it and pull it up. But dang, that tape is on there. All right. Well, let's pull off the CCD. Let's take a look under there. So this is the component that's responsible for creating the image. The other 2 are just for providing the lighting, and they actually mix in order to produce the white light for the coloration. And I bet they also, if they're 2 different color LEDs, they probably mix and match light. What? Look at that. So there is a little bar connector in there, lots of little pins, tiny. Holy cow. It's just, could you imagine the bill of materials to build this thing? It's just the amount of time, energy, and money to build this is just incredible. Now I know why they cost so much. I would almost venture to say that this guy is overbuilt. Right there is the outer connector, retainer. And this right here is the piece that does all the magic. Let's see if I can get a tiny little flat blade to get it out. Oh, come on. There we go. And this, there it is. There it is. So there is our CCD, our charge coupled device. And there is our first mirror, or our first lens, and our second lens. And there is a prism in there that combines the LED light over here. So it's going to mix them all. And I can kind of see the coloration. You guys can kind of see the coloration in there where the prism kind of starts. Yeah, you can kind of see it. Let's put that guy back in. It's going to be way too easy to put that guy in backwards. Well, maybe not. There's a square and a rounded. So maybe they already thought of that. Cool. Well, there we go, folks. So that's the Magnasonic mini projector. And this one here is the model PP60. Dang. What a cool little device, folks. And it is way more complex than what I imagined, which It always makes me respect electronics when I see that. You always imagine what it's going to look like on the inside, and then when it blows you out of the water, it's always really impressive. There you have it, folks. My LEDs. This guy right here is my lens assembly. That tiny little guy right there is my lens assembly and my CCD. What a cool device. Anyway, folks, that's my mini projector, and I just figured I would share it with you guys so you can see how technology has really evolved to what it is today. Absolutely amazing. Smaller than a dollar bill, lightweight, battery powered, and you can video game on the go. How cool. Thanks for watching, guys.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below with what you'd like to see in future videos.